Hi, so with the Dreamer patch, GMS got new presets for equipment and inner ability. We also got something called character presets, which bundles all of the individual preset systems that we have now into an integrated setup. So you can access the character presets by hitting escape and then shifting over to the character menu, and it'll be there, right there. When you open this up, you can configure each of these pages to combine your equipment presets, hyperstats, inner ability, legion pages, and link skills all into a single setup. And you can have one for like Ozring 1, Ozring 2, drop gear, and then training. There's a fifth, and you can rename them by hitting the gear on top and just like whatever you want to call it. So the cool thing is that this allows you to press a key and swap between your drop gear and bossing gear, or you can press that same key and swap between your bossing and grinding setups, or when you're in the middle of the boss, you can swap between your Oz rings, which without having to open up your inventory and like manually dragging, so you don't have to reach for your mouse anymore. That key is called the swap preset key, and by holding down on it and then pressing 1 through 5, you can swap between your pages. It is just like the combo key that we got like a few patches ago, except now it's for character presets. So I'm going to talk about how I set up my individual preset pages, and then how I configure my character presets to take advantage of this new system. There's probably other ways of doing it. Play around with it and find what works for you. So first, the things that haven't changed. We have our hyperstats, right? You're gonna have one for training and one for bossing. I have a third one here that specifically has enhanced arcane power for when I'm doing BM. For link skills, you're gonna have one for training and one for bossing. For legion pages, I have one for mage training, one for mage bossing, one for non-mage training, and one for non-mage bossing. Now the new systems. We have, let's go with the easier one to explain. The inner ability presets. Where's my inner ability preset? Oh, inner ability presets. So, by default, page 2 and 3 are going to be the very most basic thing. It's just going to be epic all stat lines. You can use miracle circulators or honor to tier them up to legendary and make up a second or third page. I would recommend having one page for bossing and then one page for drop mesa, grinding, whatever the fuck. The other thing we got is the equipment presets. So what you're going to want to do here is on page 1, put your main bossing gear on. Then on page 2, if you ring swap, the only thing you're going to put here is your second Oz ring. So by default, you'll see in the top left corner over here, there's a 1. It will use whatever is on page 1 if nothing's equipped. But because I equipped a weapon jump ring here, there isn't a 1 up there, and instead my weapon jump will just sit in this page 2. The cool thing is that if you swap between the presets, it'll just stay on page 2 without being unequipped from your equipment inventory. So it frees up a lot of equip space. On page 3, you're gonna want to put all your drop meso gear. If you don't have double line like hybrid drops, double line mesa, whatever the fuck, to get maxed out meso and drop, you're going to want to just sit on drop gear, and then before you start training, manually put in your meso gear. So now that we have all that set up, one thing to note is that if you are a continuous ring user, place your ring on on one of the slots, and then for presets 2 and 3, keep it blank. So don't have anything on like your drop gear, only if you can afford to do so. Like if you have extra, like a bunch of double line drops. The reason why is because if you do it this way, when you swap between your presets, it won't kill the charge on your cont ring. So now with that, I will show you how I set up my character presets. So we're going to have 4 pages in use. We're going to have one for your whatever your main Oz ring is, and then another one for whatever your secondary Oz ring is. Between these 2 pages, the only thing that changes is equipment. So, equipment preset number 1, which is my main damage gear. Then preset 2 is whatever I have, the page I have with just weapon jump on it. Then, for your hyperstats, ability, legion, link skills, all of these should be your bossing setup. So, bossing hyperstat, bossing inner abilities, bossing legion page, bossing link skills. For drop, it's going to be the exact same thing as these 2, except your equipment is now going to be drop gear. And then finally, you're going to have one for grinding setup. The reason why you need a grinding and a drop setup is because you're using a different link skill setup for each of them. And if you were, for example, after you finish a boss and you want to swap to drop gear, if you hit the grinding gear, you're going to swap your link skill. And that's going to kill a bunch of charges really, really quickly. So, drop gear here, only thing that changes from bossing is using your drop gear. Grinding, you're going to use drop gear, but you're also going to have hyperstats, inner ability, legion, and link skills set up to whatever you use when you're training. So, what this allows you to do now, as a demonstration, is, let's say I hold shift, I'm in a boss, I press 1, and I'm in my Oz, in my weapon jump, or in my roar. I press 2, this menu pops up, I just hit enter, and now I'm in weapon jump. So now I can ring swap really quickly in a boss. Then when I get into a loot room, I will go to my drop gear. Notice how it doesn't cost any money to change hyperstats or link skills. Then when I'm training, for example, I'll just hit 4 to go into my grinding gear. This will change my link skills. So make sure you're only doing this when you're done bossing for the day or whatever, however you want to do to manage your link skills. And one other note is, let's say that you are going into BM and you want to use the system and you want to use hyperstat 3, which has your arcane power, right? Before you go in, make sure to set up your character presets to use hyperstat 3. Or you're not going to be, when you're switching around, you're going to default over into whatever your bossing preset is normally without the arcane force. And that's more or less it.